let's calculate the difference between simple and compound interest. Now, it's likely that you've heard of these two types of interest, but how do they really differ? And mathematically, let's quantify that difference. So first, let's just reiterate what they are. Simple interest is interest based on just the beginning principal, meaning whatever we start with, our principal at the beginning, interest is applied one time. That's a one. One time. That is it. And it's applied just on that beginning principal. Boom, and we're done. Simple. When we get to compound interest, it's a little more compounded. It's interest that's calculated regularly. That could be monthly, daily, weekly, quarterly, annually, biannually. If you can think about it as a regular interval, we could do it compound interest style. Now, why this is different is because interest is added to the balance each time. So each month, each day, each week, whatever. And then the balance and the interest keep increasing. So we have the initial principal, and then, the first month we find some interest. So then the next time we are at P plus the interest. So we're finding interest on that next higher balance. So the interest is like a little bit more. That's interest plus. And then we have the original principal plus the interest plus the new interest. So it just keeps growing and growing. So the balance and the interest continue to increase, which is a lot better if we're talking about investing money, not as good if we're talking about loans. Okay, let's talk about formulas. So simple interest. You probably have recognized the simple interest formula. Interest equals the principal, right? Principal is the beginning amount. R is the annual interest rate, often called the APR, the annual percentage rate. And then T is the time in years. So if we take the principal times the rate times the time, we will find the interest. Then, if you want to find the ending amount, so this is like how much we have after a certain number of years, we take the beginning principal and add the interest that we just found. Okay? Makes sense. Okay, so those are the two formulas you would need for simple interest. For compound interest, we take, this is the ending amount, equals that beginning amount, right, the principal, 1 plus the rate. N is the number of times you compound in a year. So if it's monthly, let's just say that. If it's monthly, then N would be 12. If it's daily, N is 365, all that fun time. And then your exponent is N times T, the number of times you compound in a year times the number of year. Now that gives you the end amount. And remember, for simple interest, we found one with the interest, one with the end amount. So we also have this formula that if you want to know the interest with compound interest, we take the ending amount and we subtract the beginning principal, right? The difference between what we start with and what we end with is the interest. Okay, let's do a problem. Consider an account with an initial deposit of $3,000 at 3% interest for 6 years. What is the difference in the total amount of the account when calculating with simple interest versus interest compounded monthly? Okay, so first, let's talk simple interest. And we want to talk about the total amount of the account. Okay. So with simple interest, we know that the first thing we can do is find the interest. I need principal times rate times time. So $3,000 times my rate as a decimal times my time of 6 years. So when I multiply 3,000 times 0.03 times 6, my interest is 540. So again, to find my ending amount, I take my principal and I add my interest. So I will take 3,000 plus 540, and that gives me an ending balance of 3,540 for simple interest. Awesome. Okay, now we are going to go this way and we are going to compound monthly, which means N is 12. So let's go ahead and plug that into our formula. So the ending amount is principal, 1 plus the rate over N to the N times T power. Okay, so I have 3,000 times 1 plus 0.03 over 12 raised to the 12 times 6 power. Now, order of operations are important. So it's important to say, okay, I know that 12 times 6 is $1,272. If you put this all in your calculator at one time, just make sure you put those in parentheses. Okay, that's important. And it's an exponent, right? We are raising it to that power. So now if I type that all in, I end up with an amount, ending amount of $3,590.85. So that's the ending amount. Okay. Now the question was, what is the difference? So if I take my compound interest and I subtract my simple interest, right, this is the ending amount, I end up with a difference of $50.85. So after 6 years, nothing is different except how we are calculating interest. You would have $50.85 more with compound interest. So compound interest is going to give you more in your account.